Hey everyone, what's going on? Retire on dividends here. Driving to work. Hooray! Yay! I love driving to the office to sit on the computer, which is pretty much the same exact thing I could do at home. However, corporate America seems to think you're better off in an office, in their office, to be around people who aren't even there half the time. So I'm just doing what I gotta do, right? Doing my office days that I have to do. Anyway, enough bitching, right? I used to have to do 5 days, so I guess I shouldn't bitch. But yeah, since I'm driving to work, it's only fair if I make a video, right? And I talk about blah 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 and blah 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 blah. All right, sound good? All right, end of movie. Go. Now, one thing I just thought about right before I hit play or record or whatever the hell is, sometimes people ask when I interview like YieldMax and whomever, who are these funds good for? Who would you recommend these funds for? And I figured, let me answer that question myself. So one thing, when it comes to retirement accounts like a Roth IRA, a pre-tax IRA, a 401k where you're allowed to actually buy whatever you want, but retirement accounts in general, meaning accounts you can't touch for a certain amount of years, sometimes 30, 40 years, I would not say YieldMax funds or high yield funds in general make sense for those accounts, because you can't use the income anyway, so why be in an income fund, right? So again, like, if you think about it, your only goal in those accounts, unless you plan on withdrawing early, of course, but your plan with that account is just to grow the balance, all right? And grow it and grow it and grow it, because you can't use it. It's in our famous retirement account that we're supposed to be grateful that we have, right? And we can't touch until we're old as hell. So that being said, we just want whatever money is in there to grow as fast and as best as possible. So if you're in a fund that kind of caps out that growth and pays you income for that reason, think about it. It caps out your growth on indexes, on individual funds, and the reason that happens is because it pays you in income. If you do not need an income, then why cap your growth? So again, high yield funds do not make any sense in a retirement account, and that's my opinion. Also, when it comes to custodial accounts, UPMA accounts, children's accounts, the minors, right? Your children. If you open a brokerage for them, whether they're, let's just say they're under 16, because maybe you actually want them to have income at 16 and learn how it works, and let them spend some money. Maybe, I don't know. But let's just say under 16 years old, same thing, right? This money is just going to sit there and it's just going to grow. That's the goal, to grow. Why do you want it to pay out income, right? Why do you want their money to be capped? What is the point of that? I mean, do you think the high yield funds are going to outpace the underlying, the index, the underlying fund in the long term? Because if you do, you're going to be sadly mistaken, because it's possible in a shorter term, like a 1 year, it is really possible that it could. But regardless of that, more times than not, the underlying, and as many people will remind us in the high yield space, the underlying will outperform, typically these ETFs. And again, it's only because these ETFs can get capped. To the credit of Roundhill's RDTE, every time I look, the short time I've been tracking it, it does outperform the Russell index. So those funds, believe it or not, can. And again, in the long run, I think the Russell will outpace RDTE though. And again, maybe it has from inception. I haven't tracked it from inception, but like I said, so retirement accounts and accounts like for your children that you're not touching anyway, you just want them to grow. There's no reason to get the income, right? The only kind of stocks you want to be in are aggressive growth, because you want growth. You're not touching the stock, so you can afford the ups and the downs, like investing in a company like Nvidia. You can afford the ups and downs of Nvidia, right? Nvidia went down 20% yesterday, but you don't care because you're holding it another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? You're in Nvidia for the long haul. Same thing like Tesla. You can buy them Tesla. I bought my son Tesla shares. That thing is emotional as hell. Up, down, all around, but guess what? It doesn't matter because it's a buy and hold, which means I'm going to hold it, as long as it makes sense to, of course. If some bad news happens and I have to sell it, I sell it. But, for the most part, that's a growth stock, which means I expect it to grow in the long term, and I expect it to grow a decent amount, more so than the actual indexes. So I mean, I don't think, again, I love the high yield funds, I love income funds, but I really don't see the purpose of owning these in any type of retirement account or any child account, and for that matter, a taxable account where you don't necessarily use the money. But I'm not going to say in all cases, because to be fair, I started my journey investing in these funds in a taxable account. And right in the beginning, I had a plan that I'm just going to reinvest all of it and I'm going to retire at a certain point in time, right? But I was going to be very active with it as well. But the reason, things changed. And things changed because I realized, okay, I'm making all this income. I have to pay taxes on this income. Why don't I utilize some of this income? So what I started doing was taking steps of utilizing the income. So I said, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay my bills out of my account. So I'm going to use, approximately 50% of whatever income I'm making, and I'm going to use that portion of the income to pay my bills. The other 50% will get reinvested back into the fund. And what that does is it frees up my active income, my job income, the place I'm driving to right now, that income, it frees up that income for other things, such as, child expenses, right? Imagine having a 9-year-old who asks for this, that, and the other thing, right? And imagine a 2-year-old, with their expenses, diapers, and this and that, and wipes, and milk, and, this crap, it ain't cheap. So, for me to say, if you're in a taxable brokerage and you're not going to use the money, you should not invest in these. That would really be, oh my God, look at this guy, what a moron. That would really be an incorrect statement. And so, I'm just going to say, if you really, really have no plan on using the income, then fine. But for me, and for most people who utilize these funds, these funds, they pay an income. They pay a very, very high income. Now, that income is something that you can use to your benefit, right? And not when you're 60. You can utilize it when you're 50, when you're 40, when you're still working. Why not? Guys, we don't have to struggle We don't have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. You know, these funds have brought us something a little different to the table, and I'm utilizing them that way. So again, who do I think these high yield income ETFs, high income option ETFs are for? Who are they built for? I think they're built for people who have a taxable brokerage and people who are not necessarily just wealthy as hell, and people who can actually, who want to, you know, enjoy life, who want to utilize the income, right? Who need the help day in and day out, who want their wives to stay home from work and watch the children, or who just, you know, you don't even have to have children. Maybe you're a good husband and you just don't want your wife to work anymore, right? You want the funds to pay what her salary paid, so she can at least retire earlier, and then you can work on yourself after that, right? That's an option. It brought up many different options out in the space, and before these came out, that wasn't really a thing, because think about it. How are you going to get income like this? Are you going to do options yourself? If you did, yeah, you can make income like this. Outside of that, I mean, how are you going to do it? You're going to day trade? Yeah, okay. No one's going to do that. You know, more likely than not, they're going to lose money anyway. So these funds, they just brought something different to the table, which meant very active trading, active funds, active management, options galore, all types of options, you know, earning the maximum premium they can, paying out distributions that they didn't even make necessarily, right? They didn't even make the money, and they're still paying you a consistent 40, 50, 60, 70% yield, you know, month in, month out, sometimes weekly. And that's the other thing. These funds, you know, they came out with weekly pay. I gotta open the window for a little bit. It's getting a little hot. It's probably loud on the video. I apologize, but all of these funds, their latest thing is weekly pay. So they try to pay you now essentially every Friday, or at least once a week, however that lands. And the beauty of that is, you know, people don't have to, I'll say, budget as hard as they used to, right? They could just say, all right, I'm getting paid every single week. I'm getting paid X amount. I can use that amount to pay my bills, or to get reinvested back in the account, and then next week I'll pay the bills, or this, that, the other thing. So, and again, I'll just go through my scenario. I have two accounts, one under my wife's name, one under my name, and they have two different assignments. And believe me, I've changed my mind plenty of times throughout the years. But as of late, my wife's account, it's more, I'll say, automated. I'm not very active on that account because I can only be active on one account. Again, I work, full-time job. When I retire, you're damn straight, I'm going to be doing everything myself, right? I'm not going to be paying, you know, well, maybe I'll have some of the money in these ETFs, but not as much as I do now. But anyway, like I said, my wife's account, I rely on these high-yield ETFs. So what I do is I buy into most of the weekly payers. That way, I get paid once a week, and I reinvest it, or that money gets applied to the bills that come out of the account. Also, on top of the weeklies, I own Misty in that account. The original plan was to have Misty just pay the bills, but then I decided, you know what, I'm going to have it a little more well-rounded, and I'm going to have the weeklies pay the bills, and Misty will be just a little extra. So, because it originally started as just a car payment account, right? I was just going to keep the money I was going to use to pay off a car, and I was going to leave that in the account, and I was going to let the account pay the car, and that was the plan, and it worked. And it turns out I added more bills and more bills and more bills. I pretty much added every bill I can outside the mortgage, which is in my other account. But I added every bill to, again, outside the mortgage to come out of the account that made sense. So I'm using currently all of the cash right now, plus a little margin. I'm using all of that, and it's invested in Misty and all of the weeklies. So what happens, right? What happens with the margin? What happens with the bills? Well, right now, for example, I believe I'm like borrowing about $2,000 of the available margin, which is around like $40,000 or whatever. So that $2,000, right, of margin that I'm using, when I get paid this Friday from the weeklies, that will pay down the margin, all right? And then I'll have, say, $1,500 available, okay? Or if a day like yesterday happened and the market tanked, I utilized that margin and I bought some GPTY and I bought some LFGY because they were tanking. And it was a reason for me to utilize the margin to do that. So obviously that increases my debt situation, which is the margin. And when I get paid next time, it'll take a little longer to pay down the margin and so on and so forth. Also, I get paid by Misty once per month or once every 4 weeks. And I have 400 shares, and they pay me a decent payment, almost $2,000 or so, almost 1,000. I forget. Yeah, 400? Yeah, almost 1,000. Sorry. And that goes towards margin as well. Another thing I do is I sell puts on Misty, and I sell calls on Misty on my shares, and I earn options premium, which also goes towards the margin. All right. So the income that's coming in is paying off the margin, and if the margin gets paid off, the income just goes to cash, and then I use that cash to put back into the funds. And at the same time, we have bills coming out of the account. So we'll have the car come out, $400. We'll have electric bill go out, a couple hundred, gas bill, a couple hundred, and then a couple Verizon bills coming out. And if there's no cash, guess where that goes? It gets taken from the margin, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the assignment of that account, and it's on auto, pretty much, outside of when I decide, okay, like yesterday was a little ridiculous. That was a massive sell-off, and I already, I don't like to use margin too much, but I had it, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy some. I'm not gonna not buy some, so I did buy a little. So obviously my margin that I'm using, the amount I owe back on the margin increased. And yes, there's a margin interest rate, so I have to pay interest on that margin, which is about 12%. And that account is with Fidelity. So it's no big deal to pay 12% when I'm earning, on average a 40, 50, 60% yield. So it all works out. So that's that account. It's a $50,000 account or so. And it's on auto, Again, the only auto part is me buying and on occasion doing some options trades. But I'm only doing options trades on Misty. I'm keeping it simple. It's Misty and it's the weeklies. Misty and the weeklies. And they pay me, and then we go from there. So that's the assignment of that account. And so people ask me, are you using the income now? Hell freaking yeah, I'm using the income now. I'm reinvesting some of it, but yeah, damn right, I'm making my life, a little easier, Keep in mind, we're living off one income now. So we need all the support we can get. So that income, which is her account, is paying a lot of the bills, is paying, what her job would have normally paid. So that's what that's doing. And then, of course, we have the other account. This is the Retire Now account I always talk about. That other one is called the Dividend Car account, for those of you that aren't familiar. But this other account, very active, all right? I'm all over it. I do options day in and day out when I can, of course, on my lunch break. You don't, of course, again, the stock market is only open when we're at work. So we're kind of defeated in that way. So we can only do so much. But again, I make it work. I do what I can, and I sell puts, I sell calls, I sell puts, I sell calls, and I make as much premium as I can. And I also buy into very few funds that have low margin maintenance, because I also have margin on this account. And I currently own Alti, SPY, and FEPI. What a combo, right? What do all of those have in common? 30% margin maintenance. 30% margin maintenance, which means I can borrow on the other 70%, right? I can borrow a lot more money than I could on those funds than other funds. And yes, Alti is 30%. How is it 30%? Don't know, don't care, but it is. So I got Alti, which is an extremely high yielder, and I have FEPI, which is a 25% yielder, and then I got SPY, which I guess it's like a 15 or so, maybe a little less percent yielder. And between the three, they're pretty stable funds. But my goal between those three is a 40% yield. And then the rest of what I trade on options, I try, again, I really strive for over 100% annualized yield when I do my trades. But realistically, I won't accept anything under 40%. And then usually that averages overall, monthly basis, if I annualize it, to be a 60% annualized yield. And that's kind of how I've been laying out my goals, month in and month out. And it's been working. It gets a little harder sometimes when the market tanks, but we're making it work. So that account, it has a goal, again, month in and month out, of a certain amount. And that income, that premium income, that dividend income, that goal is, let's just say it's around $3,000. My mortgage is about $1,400. No, I'm forgetting. $1,300, I think. It's actually $1,260. I pay $1,300 a month. That's without taxes. That's without insurance. So don't go crazy, guys. That's just the actual mortgage, because I like to keep it separate. I like to pay what I owe for the mortgage separate from what I owe on my property taxes, because I like to see the property tax bill and see how ridiculous the state of New Jersey is. How much are they going to charge me now, right? Speaking of, actually, I haven't even gotten the most recent property tax bill, which is due soon. Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess that's their fault, right? I don't know. What the hell was I going to say? I don't even remember anymore. But yeah, so let's just say I'm making around like $3,000 a month in income, and I take $1,300, and that goes towards the mortgage. The rest gets reinvested. All right. It obviously slows down my retirement goal, but what it does do, it gives me relief in my day-to-day life. Like these big ass bills that would normally come out of my regular checking account, they're coming out of my brokerage. I don't even see it. So my checking account doesn't have to worry about the mortgage. It doesn't have to worry about how big the electric bill is this month, or how big the gas bill is this month, right? Because those bills, unless you're on the budget, those bills are they fluctuate. Electric is, especially in the summer, if you have a pool, oh my god. Gas in the winter, yeah, man, it is crazy. But yeah, it's just a great feeling. And if you're thinking about that, or if you've been thinking about that, I highly recommend looking into it. I mean, there's no harm in utilizing the income now. I mean, it's your money, right? You can do whatever you want with it. So if you're invested in these high yielders and you're just reinvesting them back over and over and over again, then, to what point, right? To what? Are you waiting? Are you just trying to cut it completely, to retire now? I don't know. Because my goal is to be able to retire, but at the same time, I want to be able to enjoy my life. All right, I want to utilize the money that I have in the stock market. I want to utilize that the best I can, and to help me out, to help my family out in, this date, the current time. And living paycheck to paycheck, it does no one any favors. So again, utilizing the the brokerage accounts as a source of income, as a checking account to pay your bills, it's amazing. And it's a different feeling, I'll just tell you that. Because again, when you have all the bills coming out of all the same account, one stinking account, and you go to work, you get paid, all the bills come out, you're left with nothing. But if you have a brokerage account paying your bills, all of the money that's in your checking account now is still there, right? It's still there for the most part, right? I still have a lot of bills coming out of that account. Again, this is all work in progress for me, so keep that in mind. But I am already feeling the relief, even though I haven't paid off my credit card completely yet, and even though I owe property taxes, I think actually February 1st, so that's coming up very soon. So, but that, those two bills, they come out of, the checking account, right? The credit card comes out of the checking, because that's what we use for daily expenses. We get the 2% cash back. And then, of course, again, the property tax, any quarterly bills I'm keeping for my checking account right now, because I'm still working, right? And it's not as, I don't think you can automate. Actually, I don't know. I haven't looked into it, to be honest, if you can automate the payment on property taxes. Not sure I want to yet, but maybe it's something I'll look into at a later date. I also don't automate any, like my water bill is quarterly. I don't automate that. So I do keep, like I said, the quarterly bill is separate. And I decided to keep my car insurance, which I was paying monthly. Now I decided I'm just going to pay it every 6 months, and I'll keep it as a checking account bill too. So again, while I'm still working, when I'm retired, again, it depends on so many factors. All this depends on so many factors. Because right now, I'm making YouTube income, right? And that's going into my checking, and I'm going to work day in and day out, and that's going into my checking. But if my YouTube income can actually grow and become something that could replace, I'm not going to say all of my active income, because I don't have hope of that, but most of it, then maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that I could live off that, right? Whatever that pays in the checking account is livable. I don't know. Again, the beauty is we have options, but right now, all I know is these YieldMax funds, these high yield ETFs, who are they good for? The people that could use them. The people that could use an extra paycheck. The people who are sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. The people who want their wives to stay home from work, to stay home with the children. The people who want to help out their family. The people who want to be more giving. The people who want a way to get paid outside of selling stocks themselves, right? These funds are for people who want income, and they want income now or later or tomorrow or next month. So again, I think I covered the basis of, like I said, who are these funds perfect for, or at least who I think they're useful for. And I explained kind of how I use them. I hope this information was helpful. I'm not sure if it was or not, but I'm almost at work, so I guess I'm gonna probably close it out here. But for real though, if you guys are just reinvesting 100%, I mean, you should think about it. Really think about it. Look into the brokerage. Number one, does your brokerage offer like a bill pay option? If they don't, number two, do they have a checking account number like related to the account? Because keep in mind, like if you have Fidelity is the best. They have bill pay, boom, awesome. They also give a routing and checking account number. If you have Schwab, if you want bill pay, you have to open a checking account. which is stupid. So I didn't do that. What I did is I got the routing and checking account number related to my brokerage account, but I had to order checks to get that, which again, yes, I know it's stupid. And then I gave that information to the bank that has my mortgage, and that, they use that now. They take out the money first of the month, every single month, and I don't have to do anything. Again, it's automated. I don't have to pay my bills, because I used to schedule my mortgage when I had the money. It was never automated because I never always had $1,300 in my checking account. I scheduled it when I had the $13, which was pretty much payday. And now that it's scheduled out of the brokerage, I will always have $1,300, because again, I'm making over $3,000 per month in that account. And even if I don't, there's cash or there's margin that could pay the mortgage, so it's not even a big deal. And it's just relief, man. It's just so much relief, and I can't even explain it. The only way for you guys to understand is just by doing it. Take one bill and schedule it to come out of your mortgage, and just that feeling, you're like, oh wow, it just feels good, and it's gonna feel better and better and better and better and better and better and better. Trust me. Even if you don't need it. Again, it just feels like, okay, these income funds are actually, working for me. Where's this guy going? God, everyone's in a rush, right? In a rush, just go to work, hurry up. There you go, speed. Anyway, guys, as always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a schmuck driving to work. Right? The corporate world is corporate 9 to 5, driving to work. And guess what? This video is for fun and entertainment. So hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you're entertained. If not, we'll try again on the next one. But again, I try to make these videos periodically when I commute to work, because why the hell not, right? I have peace in the car, I have quiet, and I can record and just bullshit with you guys and explain how I feel about certain things. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Was it helpful? Was it pointless? Was it kind of in line of what you're thinking, or do you have a different opinion? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy the commute videos, I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button. It goes a long way. Outside of that, I don't really have anything. Yeah, I guess we'll do a keyword. So if you made it this far in the video and you want to prove it, it's all about broker bill pay, baby. Broker bill pay, or bill pay, or broker bill pay, or whatever. So pay them damn bills. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Let me get to work and then begin this day and then do it all over again tomorrow. That's the life of us, right? Anyway, have fun at work, guys, or have fun on your day off. Later.